technically challenged here. There we go.
go.
Great. So you probably have a number of questions, and Bill is going to take the microphone very shortly, but I'd just like to make a couple of remarks. Your first question might be, what the heck is the Virtual Broker Global Network? What have I joined? And Bill's definitely the best person to answer that question. But for us insurance folks, it may be helpful if we think about a metaphor, and that is, we're hoping to be the 21st century version of the coffee house at Lloyd's. And if you think back to your knowledge of the history of insurance, Lloyd's Coffee House back in the 18th century was a gathering place for those who had an interest in shipping, ship owners and shipping agents and other related parties. And they would gather at the Lloyd's Coffee House and talk shop. And nobody ran the meeting. Nobody handed out an agenda. There were no action items at the end of the meetings, but there was certainly a lot of value exchanged. So the manager of the Lloyd's Coffee House was responsible for making sure the windows and doors were weather tight so that they could get in out of the rain, and that there was lots of coffee, and that any rowdy customers were shown the door. So that's pretty much what we have volunteered to do. This is a cooperative model, and in a cooperative model, somebody has to step up and say, okay, we'll take care of the organizing. So that's what we're going to do, but it's going to be quite a different experience in terms of the role of IC3. So why did we decide to join the VBGN? Well, I've always known for my many years in the insurance business that brokers love meeting other brokers and exchanging war stories and ideas. And there can be no better time than right now for brokers to be doing just that. So when Bill Bishop told me about this network concept and the success that he had had with it, I immediately thought, what a great way to dramatically expand brokers' access to connections and ideas. And as we know, many ideas start in different parts of the world and move through our industry. So it seemed like a great idea. And why would we want to be in it? Well, we think it's going to be good for you, for brokers in the network. And what's good for brokers is good for us. So that's how we got involved. And the architect of the model and the guy who's going to make it all happen with us is Bill Bishop. Many of you know Bill, many of you do not. So Bill, I'll turn it over to you and let you take it from here.
Yeah, that's great. And it just so they know, like Jeff, Rick and I have known each other for at least 25 years, maybe longer now.
Yeah, I'm sure it
is. 30. So, we're showing our age, but we're already doing that anyway, so that's okay. But we've known each other a long time. And, we got together like about 3 or 4 months ago, I think. And Rick said, what's new? What's going on? And I said, well, one of the things that I'm finding that really works well in all kinds of industries is to have this kind of niche network. Okay, so we're all familiar with going on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that kind of thing, and it has its benefits, but as we've all learned, some downsides too, right? So, the idea of this is that what if we had our own Facebook that all the members own together, and it's not Mark Zuckerberg has nothing to do with it. that would be a good thing, just for starters. And why is it working? Well, people, when they do come together in a particular industry or around a particular topic, perhaps, shared value can be created, right? And this is what I've seen. So there's three networks that I've started. And one is called the New Economy Network, and that was the very first one I started for my business. I started that in 2017. And since that time, we have about 600 members now, and a tremendous amount of shared value there around the new economy and all the new types of technology and everything. That's been a huge benefit to me and to all the members involved. And then the second one that I developed was called the 10% Speaker Network, and that was for people who do keynote speaking. And I do a lot of that. So I started that network. We have about 240 members in that. That started at the beginning of the year, and all kinds of great things have come of that as well. I personally got a lot of speaking engagements. I've met very interesting people. I've learned a lot about being a speaker, and it's just been a wonderful thing. And everyone that's involved in it just keeps raving about all the benefit they get from it, including myself. So that's those have been my personal experience. And then over the last couple of years, I worked on a project with another fellow, and it's called the HR Connection Network. So that one is for people who are in HR, like HR executives. They're the head of HR in a company. And they join this network to learn about HR, to learn from each other. They have speakers come to the meetings. They have a meeting every 2 weeks in this case, and they've learned a tremendous amount from each other. And every week there's just more and more members. And as they get more and more members, more and more value is created for everybody. So it reaches sort of a certain point of the network. They call it the network effect. As we get more members, the value of the network becomes more valuable here. So that's been my experience so far. So when I was talking to Rick and the rest of them there, I said, maybe this is something you could do for insurance brokers. And, and the vision is like, well, what if we had like 1,000, 2,000 insurance brokers from around the world in this network, and we meet regularly, and we learn from each other, right? We get support from each other, and we also can do business together, right? So, and now Rick knows more about this than me, but the idea that you might be able to do business in other countries, like if you had a client who, say you're in Canada, but needs some help on insurance in the United States or in the UK or something, then you could team up with one of the other members to facilitate that work, so for the benefit of your client and for your own mutual benefit, right? So that's why we thought of it the virtual global network, is the sense that this is a way for you to scale up your business that way without having to open up offices in different places and so on. That this would be a way that you could find partners very quickly there. So that was another idea around this. Now, the purpose of this meeting is that you're kind of all the nucleus of this, and we're looking for you to help us figure out, well, what would be what you would want to get from a network like this, right? So each network that I've talked about, there's sort of different reasons why people join it and what we actually do there. I mean, the common principle is we're all coming together to help each other, but we help each other in different ways depending on the network. So, and all of that comes out of the network. It's not like something we say, this is it. It's like, it's a peer group here. So we can all talk about what would be some benefits we could get from all coming together. And we'd like to hear that part from you. That's really the purpose of today's meeting, is to hear your feedback and suggestions on what that might look like. Right? So, and I can get in later into some of the particulars, like the mighty networks and how all that works and so on. But I think now maybe if you agree, Rick, maybe we could open the floor up a little bit and have people just talk about what they think of this idea and whether they think they could get value from it. whether they can contribute value to it, and what they think might be the best way to go. And then the other thing is, right now, the name we have is a bit of a mouthful. So we're also looking for anyone that could suggest maybe there's a better name for it, whatever that might be. So that you win some kind of prize if you come up with a name. Okay. All right. So I think that's kind of what I wanted to say so far, I think.
Let's also open the floor to questions of people.
Yeah, questions
want to
too.
know
Yeah.
how this is going to work, how often we're going to meet. These
Right.
are all things that we have to collectively discuss and decide.
Yeah. Like at this point, we've thought maybe once a month would be a good frequency, but that we'll see. And the other thing about that too, as far as the meetings go, is you're not going to be able to come to every meeting, right? And that's fine. It's not commitment there, right? So it doesn't cost anything. And if you can't make a meeting, that's fine. They'll be recorded, and you can listen to what was said afterwards. So you don't have to worry that, oh, I won't be able to come or whatever. It's okay. Maybe you have to only come to every other one or something. That's okay. So maybe preempted that question. So any questions?
So let's open the floor for questions or ideas on how the network can benefit you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll jump in here.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, we feel as a bit in a silo, I think, as a brokerage owner, and you kind of run and see what others are doing, but it's us, we're at a fairly early stage, just in our 7th year, and I've been in the business myself over 25 years, and so yeah, we're dealing with a lot of things with transforming our broker management system, and information that things that others have gone through that we haven't. I think it's a big thing in our industry, certainly now with 1,000 different tools and portals and all of these things, and where's commercial going, and some of those things that are happening. I think there could be some value there certainly for me. We have a lot of customers that are looking in Ontario. We're in Alberta, so we're currently going through the REBO process, and what a bunch of pain that is. Probably not nearly as much as I thought it was going to be a year ago when we started the process, but the idea that if we had a broker in Ontario that was like us, needed help in Alberta, and we've got all the markets and we're pretty good in Alberta, but and they write in Ontario, but of course we can't. Even if they have a property in Ontario, we can't. With the rules of REBO are very strict, as probably most of you, if not all of you, know. We can't even have an office location for one of our large customers in Ontario. So that's what's forced that hand on us. And it's going to cost us a lot more than in time and money than certainly the first little while, what we expect to generate through revenue. But so some of those ideas of being able to network, we have customers working worldwide, like many of you, I'm sure. The idea that they could open offices in other places, or have operations in other places where we could use people would be great. To have a network like this. And I'll throw the name out there. I'll give it to you for free, the Insurance Boiler. But that's only because it's a name of a series I wanted to start years ago when I was in the production industry. There's a movie I think it was called The Boiler Room. It was stock traders and stuff like that. I just love that movie. So I always thought The Boiler Room, I wanted to do a commercial broker and all the stuff we deal with on a 20-minute series. But that was 15 years ago, and I don't think that's going to happen. So there you go.
Well, that sounds kind of a cool one.
I'll throw that in the ring for the prize.
That's a cool one.
That's a cool one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right.
That's all I've got. I have to break the ice there for everybody.
Yeah. Thanks,
Darren.
Rick, your name just doesn't compete with Insurance Boiler.
The pickle jar.
The pickle jar.
Well, the cafe one was another name.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll get it. We'll get it. It'll come.
Oh yeah, it's gonna come.
Yeah.
The
We volunteer somebody here. Darren, why don't you volunteer somebody to speak?
Or want me to volunteer the next person?
Yeah, we do that.
I think Pete has something to say. I've got a feeling.
Yeah, because I'm off. Yeah, I'm not, no shortage of words.
There we go.
I'm just in a mood today that says I want to fight everyone in the industry because I think most of our companies are mindless automatons. This is what you get with me. I speak freely and sometimes crazily. But what I'm sort of feeling is that when you bring people together, I think there's probably an opportunity here to look at who we're writing business with and what we're doing. And if we have a scale, do we have scale to influence direction with companies? Collectively, let's pick on a company. Let's pick on my the person I'm going to be picking on later on, Aviva. They're a multi-headed prong entity of inefficiency, lack of transparency, and hubris. What if we collectively had $100 million with Aviva between all of us? What could we ask them to do for us? The industry is going into a consolidation mode where the mighty are getting favors. I won't even bring up the stuff I'm hearing from Westland, and not because my former boss is working for them, just because of what I hear from other things. You've got private equity coming in and making messes of everything. You can't expect every broker to want to get bigger in terms of acquisition growth just to satisfy companies' needs for favoritism. So you need things. One of the things that doesn't happen in my neck of the woods, and I'm in Manitoba, but it was very big out east a number of years ago, and it's fairly big in, well, not big, but it's prominent in Alberta, is clusters, broker clusters. There's the Excel group and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we have the ability to cluster our resources and demand something more from these harebrained CEOs who can't see the forest from the trees, and put a little demand on their face. They need some pressure because the pressure isn't coming. And there's more independent brokers than there are Westlands. There's more independents than there are Stone Ridges. There's more independents than there are hubs. And we need to kind of use our collective might, which is unorganized, it's unconsolidated, and use an entity like this to demand a little more. Maybe it gives us purchasing power. Maybe we're all indirectly looking at the same technology, but we don't know it. What does that give us? Because that's where some efficiency comes in. And, you know, I can go to our ownership group and ask them for millions and millions of dollars to grow to grow with acquisition, but it doesn't mean I get any further ahead because, you know, my debt financing just eats up whatever I'm growing in. And we all have the existential threat of the different changes in technology within the industry. But collectively, we might have an opportunity there. I don't know what that looks like, but I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah, well, that is definitely one of the, like, I just mentioned the networks that I've built, right? But, you know, I've studied this quite a bit. And the idea of a buyer group, if like that's kind of a standard term there, is one of the reasons why people join networks to do that kind of thing, because collectively you have some leverage, right? So that was something been spinning through my head about this, but I don't know your industry well enough to see how that would work, but it has worked in principle in other networks like this. So that's an excellent, that can be huge, right?
And as Bill said earlier, that, you know, his network groups have grown. So that's the intention of this group, you being the nucleus, this being our first time together. You know, we want to continue to grow and expand, so that if that becomes buying power, we should be getting more and more powerful as we expand and grow and look to the future of this group. So, I
don't know if you've heard that expression, the network effect. Maybe you heard that? So generally speaking is that as a network gets bigger, it becomes more valuable to the people in the network, right? You just think of, like, if you had two people have a telephone, that's kind of useful because they can talk to each other. But if 1 million people have a telephone, it's exponentially more useful for everyone. So that's why I said, like, 1,000, even 10,000 members, it starts to give you something, all kinds of benefits that you can get with that size, right? So that's part of it. That'd be amazing.
Pete, it sounds like because you're from Manitoba, you're looking at Farmers in North America's model.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not super familiar with it, but it's something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know what it looks like, but it seems to me from that there's opportunity there to influence things in a different direction rather than letting independents sort of not get the attention they deserve.
Really good.
So what do you think we can do though? Let's say say you had 100 million and you had, however many brokers, what sort of things, like, I mean, you can't get them to answer their phone.
Well, again, I'm picking on Aviva because they're a sensitive subject and I'm having a meeting with them later on, but give you an example. Aviva has different underwriting departments that they use exclusively for certain brokers. So I'm competing against my own, the company I'm asking to quote on is competing against itself in an area where they have no representation because some dingbat out of Waterloo is writing something he's never even physically seen. And so I'm talking to Aviva saying, why aren't you writing this? Well, we can't do it, right? So there's a whole host of inefficiencies there with them. And I finally got someone from Aviva to explain how they do things. And I said, you can understand why I might have some comments about that. And they said, yeah, given where you're sitting. And I think those are the things that need to happen. Companies grow without really understanding the ramifications of things. And, Aviva is just my whipping my dead horse today, but it'll be someone else next week because I'm just perpetually upset with insurance companies. But that's a personal issue. Sorry, I shouldn't drag my own flaws into things. But that's sort of how I look at it. So let's say Aviva, we had 100 million combined premium with them, easy numbers because math is not my strong suit. That to me says we have some might to say, hey, this group wants you to think about this because we're going to start thinking about something else. And if we found out, and maybe we need to look at classes of business and things like that, and maybe share some data. Nothing happens without sharing data. And maybe we need to share some data about our books of business, where things sit and what that looks like. Maybe it has to sort of be in a blind trust to someone. So we're not maybe divulging anything that's confidential and it's held, but we send it all to Rick, and Rick says, well, by the way, you guys, between the 28 companies you represent, this is the breakdown of premium through all of them. We get a number. And that they become the key master, so it's not some sort of disclosure issue. And we all trust Rick won't sell it to the highest bidder, and off we go. But then we can say, hey, now what do we do with this? And it focuses our it gives us an idea of where we should maybe focus our energy, and maybe it rules out doing anything. But data is everything in insurance right now, right? It's absolutely everything. And there's when you dive underneath things, you realize most of the people we deal with in terms of vendor partners, they're leveraging our own data against us, and we don't have any control over it. That's the other bee in my bonnet right now. And that's something that I think we need to look at too. How much data do we have collectively sitting in our broker management systems that we can't pull out? By the way, I was supposed to have a meeting with Applied right after this and they canceled. So they're probably lucky because I'm really getting fired up, but we can't pull it out. We can't pull it out. They hold it all ransom for us, and we can't do anything with it. There are companies that can do things to help pull this out. Maybe that's something we all need to look at. Maybe we all use the same broker management system for all we know. And there is a technology there that can help extract that data, make sense of it. Maybe we need to combine it all and hire a data scientist collectively to give us customer insights on what we have in our own database.
What
Like,
system are you on?
You're tossing out some monster topics.
Mhm.
That's great.
Rick, you know the world I live in.
What
You
VMS
know
are
who
you
I
on,
talk
Pete?
to regularly, and this is where my brain goes. But we're on Applied Epic.
And you still
And-
can't get your data?
Well, you can through Applied Analytics, but it's not very good. You have to do bulk data extract, and then you have to have someone know how to do it. So you probably want to have someone who can either use Python or RStudio and start doing some of that. Like, it's one thing of getting it, but just importing it into Excel, it's kind of limited. like the bleeding edge people who are shaping out their claims experience and stuff actually hired data scientists like SureX Direct, right? Lance hired a data scientist, a guy with a PhD, and he was literally challenging rating models from insurers because they didn't know how to deal with the claims stuff, and they had more frontline claims industry or claims information on it. So that's one of those things that I think with scale, it becomes available to us, right? Like it doesn't make sense for me to hire a data scientist. It's going to cost me $150,000 a year, and I don't have enough business to justify it. But with 20 of us, what can we do? Because it's
Pete,
getting the data out.
Collective
Yeah, I'm
data.
talking. Hey, you guys, I have a podcast, so I'll talk forever. So I should shut up and I'll just move on now.
that's
Hey, why
fascinating.
don't you volunteer somebody to speak now?
Oh, let's go with Sandy. Sorry, Sandy.
Thanks, Pete. No, I just think this group, it'd be great to be able to, how can we collaborate together? Some of the topics Pete's suggested as well, share our successes. What are our challenges? It's just always nice to talk to industry, other brokers who are local, independents, and see what we're all going through.
Where are you located?
In British Columbia.
Okay, great.
Oh, I gotta go. Sorry.
See you, Sandy.
Yeah.
I can go next. For those that haven't met me, I'm Jeff Jones. I'm own a brokerage in Thunder Bay, Ontario. We were just over 14 million. Yeah, I think, for this group, there should probably be a little bit more of a laser focus of what we're doing and that there's value add for everyone. It's hard to be everything for everybody, but the cluster idea is a really challenging one. The markets won't budge unless there's common ownership. And really, if it's one person that can, pull the strings that they want to work with, we've looked at that with some other groups I'm part of, but I'm always up for that conversation of how do we hold them accountable. I think that they're causing, the insurance companies are causing their own chaos that they're going to have to deal with in the future is if these brokerages keep getting bigger and bigger and they're going to hold these companies hostage. I don't know if this is going to be like an aggregator, that's happened in the UK, right? That where they're controlling the marketplace, not the insurers. But I think, having open discussion with groups or learning something, I think, and whenever I'm involved with these network groups is, if I pick up one or two things on a call, it's worth my time. But having topic speakers that are relevant, lots of challenges with placing commercial business these days. So having a network to share and ideas across the board, an open forum of like whether it's Slack or whatever solution we're going to use for this. So those are just some of my thoughts.
Very good.
Thanks, Jeff.
Who are you going to
That's
volunteer?
great.
Jeff, who would you volunteer to speak?
How about Mike?
Certainly. Thanks, Jeff. Mike Hootie, I'm with Harvard Western Insurance in Regina, Saskatchewan, and pretty much anything that the group at IC3 says, come be a part of it, I'm in, because I know there's going to be benefits out of it regardless. So I have the pleasure of spending a lot of time with them and to our brokerage and myself benefit. And I think the biggest thing for me whenever I come into these is I don't know what I don't know, quite frankly. Who knows where the topics are going to come from? Who knows what the benefits are going to be? It's about trusting the process for me. We're a localized market, so we're very sheltered on what's happening in the rest of the world or even the country for that matter. So for me, it's being a sponge and learning, but also sharing any of the things that we can and successes that we've had. We've been able to do some pretty strong things in our marketplace. The one challenge that we're still having is I think we still operate very traditionally, and that's done well for us. But I think there's a lot of people that are very innovative in our industry, and I think talking about ways to get out of that traditional model, being more innovative and scaling up in a faster way. I know we've talked about it. We've looked at a lot of different things, and we've got digital avenues and things like that, but I still think there's other avenues and things that people have done, and I hope to learn some of those secrets. And I have a real big passion around developing our industry. We often talk a lot about the challenges that are out there, but what are we doing to develop our people, as well as help develop companies? I know we can, they got to be on board with it too, but there's a lot of collective knowledge in brokers that right now is not being captured, and it's going to be disappearing. And I think there's an opportunity to keep sharing that knowledge with the next folks coming along, but also sharing that knowledge with the companies, and that sharing of information is a real struggle between the two. So again, for me, it's about, there's going to be benefits, I have no doubt. And there's a lot of collective knowledge in the room here and within the network. So I look forward to that.
Thank you, Mike.
Great.
I'd be interested in hearing from Yetse.
Why is that? Because I'm in a totally different market. I actually I need to introduce myself. So I worked with Rick in Turkey. In my past, I worked for a company called ING in Canada, later called Intact. And I worked in several countries, and I spent 6 years in Turkey, and Rick and I worked with our brokers over there, and it was very good. So I was very pleased when we got in touch again last month. I have left in ING or Intact in 2014 and started investing a little bit with Jack Meyer from Vancouver. So we have some initiatives there in Canada. In fact, one of the things that we are doing is we've built an online business to service his clients in the offices. He has about 90 offices in British Columbia. So that's a big pool of data, and it's a lot of fun to work on those data and get additional business there. And he asked me also to invest with him in the Netherlands, but he's a little bit old-fashioned. He only invests in existing businesses that are already generating cash, and I wanted to do something more innovative in the Netherlands. So I started my own initiative called Mango Tree, where we are setting up new businesses with young entrepreneurs, and we are going to specific target markets. And right now we have six offices, and it's going fairly well. So that's me for you guys. So I have a little bit of a link with Canada and also with other countries. Rick told me that we would have a very international team, so I'm looking forward to that. I think what I wrote down for myself as potential benefits is simply help each other if you have international business leads, and sometimes we have. At the beginning, we talked with Brian, and actually the company that he has that he knows and that I'm a partner in. We have some business with Canada, and we find it very difficult to place that business somehow through the business of Jack, for instance. Jack Meyer, we didn't succeed, and then we gave up, which is a shame. So that would be one thing. I think that learning from each other is another big thing. We have a big challenge in the Netherlands to find the right people. I understood from Rick that's in Canada also a bit of an issue. So finding ways to meet that kind of challenges would be interesting. The other thing is, and I'm very happy that Bill is here with his experience in setting up networks. Sometimes you also need external people who are not in the business to tell you how the world is evolving and which trends there are that we may miss. And lots of things are happening, and sometimes it's scary, but I always enjoy very much to talk about those big picture developments in the world and see how, as an industry, we should take advantage of those trends or be protected against certain threats. So that kind of topics I would very much welcome to discuss in the group as well. I have no clue what kind of name the network should have, so I will not work with any original things here.
I like the Mango name, though, you got there. What is it?
That's a good name.
Mango.
Yeah, so we are called Mango Tree, or actually our holding is called Mango Insurance Services, but then we discovered that somebody already had that name in India. So we now our main company is called Mango Tree Insurance Services, but it's in Dutch. Mango Tree Verzekeringen, Mango Tree Insurance. And Mango Tree, we took that because most of the brokers here in the Netherlands name their brokers, their brokerages after their own name, which is perfect, of course. That's very clear. Then you know who the owner is, but it's a bit boring. So we were looking for a new name, and then some guys, yeah, mango tree is a wonderful tree. It has very healthy fruit, and you can sit under the tree and you can do nothing and be well protected, etc. And then everybody liked that name. That's how we got.
Well, you can remember it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you can remember it. Nice. Okay.
Yetzi, on the international front, I'm happy to tell you that we have a new member as of yesterday from Australia. And I think you'll find him quite an eager contributor. And we're in active discussion with a South African brokerage.
Cool.
So we're starting to spread our wings with the recruiting.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets more and more exciting as you get more and more people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is just the first meeting. So it's amazing we have this many folks here. So great. Who else wants to? We got more time. So who else could give us their 3 cents? What else have we got?
Yeah, I don't mind to go.
Brian? Okay.
So I'm a part owner of a family business here in Southern Ontario. We have an office in Burlington and in Niagara. As Jitsa will know, greenhouses are big for us down here, so we're big in the greenhouse business. But yeah, a lot of what's been said already, sharing of information. We operate in silos. I think somebody said you're so busy day to day doing your stuff that sometimes you lose sight of the forest for the trees that you're working with. Technology issues, we're going through that right now. We're trying to decide what to do. We're with Power Broker. It has limitations, of course, so we're trying to figure out where to go from here. Sharing of information, collaborating together, helping each other out if we can, sure. So far, I think a lot has been said already that I had made some notes, so I'm all in.
Cool.
Great. Bill, you might comment on how you use breakout rooms in the other groups.
Yeah. So that's kind of handy. I mean, part of this, it's kind of a dating service. Okay. Because it's the idea is that you come to these meetings, it's like there's lots of people there, and you hear someone speak about something and you go, they're kind of interesting. Especially if we go into a breakout room, we could have like a particular topic or something that we're talking about that particular day. So you go into a breakout room, like 4 or 5 people there, spend 20 minutes, have a good chat, and then you meet somebody, right, that you never knew before. And then what you're encouraged to do then is to have, say, hey, let's get together and have our own meeting, one-on-one. That's really where a lot of the action is going to happen, obviously. So like I say, it's kind of a dating service in the sense you might have a bunch of dates and then figure out somebody to get married to, right, at some point. But you can marry more than one person in this network. So that's what's
wow.
Polygamy is allowed here. Okay.
Polygamy is allowed.
And so that's really where I've seen the benefit for a lot of people is that they come to the larger group and then we go into breakouts, kind of get to know some people more intimately. And then you say, hey, let's set up a call next week or something and really pick each other's brains and see if we can do some business together or something. So that's really what's happened. It really kind of remarkable. And that's actually what I get out of it mostly. I mean, as far as, financially one thing maybe, but it's really about seeing people connecting that I find is really amazing. So that's why I like to be part of these things. So yeah, breakout rooms. We're going to definitely do that when we get more people, right? Because if you had like 100 people, then you'd want to go into breakout rooms.
Are you going to also comment on the Mighty Networks and how people can connect and post and communicate through that system?
Yeah, so let me bring that up now. Okay, so hang on, I'm going to share my screen if I can. Here we go.
Do I have to give you hosting duties? Oh, there you
go. No, I think I'm able to.
Got it.
Yeah, so you can see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So So here, before I even show, I'll just show you the one that we do for the HR Connection Network because it's pretty active, right? Mighty Networks is a platform which does a wonderful thing. It basically helps you set up your own social network. So it's like you're building your own Facebook, basically, but it's not on Facebook; it's private. And so in the HR Connection Network, it would be basically you can see who the members are. So people are saying, oh, who would I want to connect with? So everybody that comes on there puts a little bit of information about themselves for the most part. And then where the real action is that we can post things. So what I'm encouraging you to do, if you have a question or something, just like on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, post something, have a question or whatever, and then the other people on there could comment on it and so on, right? So this is a place to interact between the meetings, right? And it can be, as we get more and more people, it can get more and more lively there. This is the 10% speaker network that I have people posting things on there quite regularly now. So it's quite active in what we're doing there. So if you're not on Mighty Networks yet, and then we have the Virtual Broker Network. So here we are. Not a lot of content yet because we've been waiting today to have this meeting today to invite you there. But if you aren't on here yet, I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to put that in the chat. Okay, so to get on Mighty Networks. So if you're not on here yet, and of course it's not mandatory or anything, but there's the link in the chat and you can click on it and it'll take you 2 minutes to set up your account. They're basically just asking for your email and some kind of password or something, so you can put it on there. Okay, and then as we go along, you'll be able to see who the members are, and we're going to have like certain topics that we're going to post. Like if you're looking for a global partner, you can post something there. If you want to put your member profile in about you, you can put it there. Any network events that we have will be posted in that particular category there. So that's generally it. I mean, we're all familiar with Facebook and LinkedIn, so it's not like a big learning curve that way. But the beauty of it is it's just about this with us folks here. It's not anyone else's. No one's going to intrude on it. You're not going to get a post about some political thing out of the blue or whatever. It's just about this. So that's the thing I like about it. All right. So any questions about Mighty Networks or?
No algorithms.
No algorithm. And then the other thing is that we're going to give you access to the names of the other members. So as we're going along here, we're gathering those. We'll either give you access to this particular list or it'll be put into a kind of a registry that you'll be able to access and say, here's all the members with their phone numbers and everything. Mighty Networks kind of covers that in some ways, like because you can see the members, but this directory is often helpful just because it has more specific information. So as we get to a certain point, we will create that kind of directory as well. When it becomes, you want to be able to search it, for example, maybe by line of business or region or something, you'd be able to find those people more readily. So, like I say, it's kind of a dating service, right? And there we go. So any questions about Mighty Networks or? It's kind of
just
a question in general, Bill, if, we represent, well, most of us, again, I speak for myself, represent a brokerage.
Yes.
My brokerage, what about being away and things, having a VP or someone else attend, on behalf in meetings, or do you suggest that, sign up as individuals, I guess, or does it matter, or is one better than the other?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing we're thinking about, who should be in this network, whether it just be and I'll leave that more to Rick and the rest there, but because I don't know, but I think that anyone that's kind of in the leadership position could probably be part of it, I would think. Yeah, what do you think, Rick? Do you think that what we're aiming for?
I think we're open to discussion on that.
Yeah.
If you thought there might be value for having, say, a senior producer participate, or a service leader, or a sales leader, I'd certainly be open to that. But it's really up to the collective group to decide. If you want just to have senior principals, that's fine too. Well, let's just hear some quick comments on that. What do you think about having people like senior producers, sales leaders, service leaders? Good idea, not so good.
Raise your hands if it's a good idea.
Sorry, just searching for the.
Honestly, my brokers know more about it than I do.
It might be nice to come in with topics on that, right? So they're not coming in sort of blind and wondering what to talk about. Like we bring them in with a specific purpose, and then they're focused too, and we give them some lead time, and then we get some different insights.
Yeah, like in the HR Connection Network, the HR one, each meeting has a topic that it's been decided ahead of time. There may or may not be a speaker, but that's the topic on the table for that particular event. And what we've done is done a survey. So here's the possible topics, and then people vote on that. And then, we create a priority of topics, right? There was about 27 of them that we identified, and then we put them out there. And, during COVID, for example, it was all about, well, what's our policy around, masking and things like that. That would jump right to the top. And then, just attracting and retaining people, and how do you do that, and so on, was a big one, of course, getting them back to work and so on. So we can have certain topics that will be the focus of the meeting, right? So I think it would be a good idea here myself, but.
So rather than having people like senior producers just attend for a purpose, because there's going to be a speaker or a topic.
For that topic, but they could sign up to be a member, right? That we're saying? Yeah. Do they have a stake in all this too, right?
Because we could post the topic in the event section of the network.
Yeah, good
So if
point.
they're members, they could see what the topic was going to be. Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing too is when they sign up, they can indicate, we can change the application form a bit. They can indicate what role they play in the brokerage, right? And then that can be tagged so that, if we just wanted to have a meeting of the principals, we could, right? We just invite them to the meeting of principals, or we have a general meeting anyone can come to, or we have a meeting for the producers, that can happen too. So there are lots of ways that we can play that, as long as we're gathering that data right from the beginning. We know who they are. It's all going into a database to, so we can keep track of that.
So think about that.
The only thing we have to be careful of maybe is it could be a bit of a slippery slope too. I mean, if we're talking about, high level potential changes and not changes with individual brokers, but, you hear ideas, and sometimes, staff and employees, and, they can get the wrong idea. I know certainly I like to speak freely in these types of meetings, and, there might be things that can be construed as, something, a direction or something that's happening that might just be not. So I think it would be probably to have that what the discussion is going to be regarding. And, certainly if I was talking about changing our BMS and building our own BMS and going through a 2-year, putting staff through something like that, I wouldn't want my key producers being there, because I know what their answer is to changing anything on the back end right now.
Right.
No, so those are important issues to consider, right?
So I think the idea of having a meeting with a topic, be it service and you want to invite service leaders, or be it production, you want to invite production or marketers, would be a great idea that way.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you could have two, groups in the network as well. You don't have to mix them all together.
Or we could have a meeting that's principals only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or open
Lots
forum.
of options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tailor it.
It's like, I speak to a tech, the executive committee. They like business groups. Maybe you've heard of tech.
Yeah.
So when I go, there's two different groups. There's the CEO groups, which are the principals. And then usually the next day or that afternoon, I'll go to the key group, which is their second in command person or whatever. And that's a separate meeting. And so that works pretty well in that venue anyway. So that could be something. Right?
Bill, I'm watching the clock.
Yeah.
We should talk about growing the membership.
Yeah, exactly. So the way these networks grow is by you inviting other folks to be in it. Okay. And I'm just going to send you a link there. Link I just sent. And if you click on it, that's the application form to sign up. So we can give you a more elaborate email later and so on. But if you had somebody you thought you'd like them to sign up, then just send them that link and they can register for it. They'll watch
anywhere in the world, just
anywhere in the world. And they can watch the video. It explains what it's all about, and then they can decide to sign up, right? I mean, there's no real risk to signing up because it doesn't cost anything. And if you find out that's not something you like, then
just stop.
You can just stop being in it. It's not a big deal, right? So, so if you have someone, that would be wonderful that you could invite them to come in. Because like I say, the more people we have in the group, the more we all get out of it. So.
When it comes to inviting others, we can give you a boilerplate email that you can use, or you can simply give us the person's name and contact info and ask us to reach out to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So lots.
And then the other thing, we have a date for the next meeting, though. Did we not decide that already?
Mhm.
What was the date?
January.
January.
It's not the first week. I think it's the second week.
I think it's the second week too.
Yeah.
Not Tuesday.
Maybe we didn't change it yet. No, I think it's right now. It's scheduled for the 3rd, but that's too soon after the holidays.
Right.
So
Oh, you're right.
probably be better on the 10th.
That's we talked about actually changing it to the 10th.
Yeah. Okay. So we're saying the 10th at the same time.
I'll change that so that you can accept that for the 10th.
Right.
Same time.
Yeah. So you'll get an invitation to that, but that would be the date right now.
Think about our name too.
Think about the name. You win the prize. We haven't decided what the prize is yet, but
It's your pixie dust, Bill. I
something
think.
good. Something good.
Joe, before you save that, add the new people that joined.
I will. Yeah.
Thanks.
And think about inviting at least one broker before the next meeting.
If you could.
That would be great.
Yeah.
A Christmas gift.
You put it under the tree.
Yeah.
Join
the network. Merry Christmas.
It sounds like a good Christmas present or a Hanukkah present.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, well, you want to wrap it up, Rick?
Yeah, I think so. It's always good to start on time and finish on time. Is there any closing comments anyone would like to make? Good start. What do you think?
Sounds interesting. Sounds good.
Yeah, lots of potential here. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
I'll send the
Okay.
recording out to everybody. There's a few people that had to leave early, so I'll send it out to everybody. If you want to share it with anyone, that would be great too.
Yeah, thanks for all your feedback. It's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here and thanks for signing on.
Yeah.
And let's make it one of the best decisions you've ever made.
Great.
Have a good holiday.
That won't be hard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a
Happy
great
holidays, everyone.
holiday.
Yeah, yeah. Merry Christmas,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
See you.
Take care.
Take
Bye.
care.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.